How's it going, everyone? This is for my class PHP and other natural disasters. Before we begin teaching PHP, I want to get you set up on the right developer environment. So to do that, you're going to need to install NetBeans plus the Java SDK. Then you're going to want to install Git, and you want to do that with the GUI and Bash options. And after that, you're going to want to install VirtualBox. If you're on Windows, go ahead and install this driver thing and WAMP right here. So you got to install it in that order. And if you're on Macintosh, just go ahead and install MAMP. You can just use the free version, then install Vagrant. And this is all written down in the description, and these will be handed out in the class as well. So once you're done with all that, and that should take a good 30 minutes or so, we're going to go to PHP get, and we're going to start rocking and rolling. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a VirtualBox. So we're going to select locally because we're deploying locally. We're going to select VirtualBox because that's what we installed. We're then going to select our operating system. I'm going to choose Ubuntu. Then I'm going to choose I'm going to choose for my local VM IP. I'm going to choose let's choose 12. No, I'm not going to choose 12. I'll choose 13. Everyone else is going to have to choose something different because we're all going to be on the same address. For this class, I'm going to recommend you put 1024, so that's 1 gigabyte. Actually, I'm going to put 2048, so that's 2 gigabytes of memory for this virtual machine. Depending on your OS, you will put in more or less, and I will guide you through that process, so don't worry if you don't know what to put in. Basically, I like to put up to 4 gigabytes in my VM, or I'm sorry, it's 248, or divide my RAM in half, whichever one is bigger, I'll pick. So if I have 2 gigabytes of RAM, I'll put in 1024 because that's 1 gigabyte. But you probably want at least 1 gigabyte. The box port's fine, the host port's fine. This folder, so it's basically saying that we're going to sync that up, that wherever the Vagrant folders are is going to sync up to that. I'm going to go ahead and do something a little different. I'm going to put code right here so that all of them can go to the code. So wherever the Vagrant folders are, code is going to match this folder, and that'll make more sense as you go along. So that's good. System is basically kind of the OS, what we're going to be using. We're not really going to be doing anything with system. Firewall, we don't really care about. Web server, we're going to use Apache, but you're free to use Nginx. Our virtual machine for this is, for right now, it's going to be our virtual host name is going to be php tutorial.app, and then our server alias is going to be php tutorial.app, and we need to do www, I'm sorry, so www.phptutorial.app, and then go ahead and click on that like I just did. So our root is going to be PHP, and then we're going to have PHP tutorial, and that's where all of our folders are going to be. Tutorial. Port 80 is fine. That's fine. That's basically saying that our developer environment is dev. Don't worry if a lot of this doesn't make any sense to you. That's okay. But just follow along. So we want to set it up like that. The next thing we want to do is we want to set up our language. So we're going to use 5.6. We want to install Composer. And really all this is okay. I mean, we might create another virtual machine for a later class, but we're just trying to get through this, so that's fine. We do want to install xdebug, so go ahead and select xdebug, and the only thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add one little thing to this. So xdebug.max nesting level. Go ahead and change that to 250. And what xdebug allows us to do is it allows us to stop the codes and just walk through the code. So that's really good. For our database, just to keep things simple, we're going to do MySQL. We're going to make the root password root. That's not very secure at all, so you don't want to do that on a professional environment. Our username is going to be Bob. Or no, our DB name is going to be, let's say PHP examples. Our DB username is going to be PHP, and our DB password is going to be PHP. Normally, I would like to install some additional tools and have a little bit more fun, but we're not going to do that because we want to keep this simple, and we don't want this tutorial to go on for 1,000 years. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create, we're going to click the go ahead and make button, and that's going to download the PHP thing. So that should go in your download folders depending on how you have your browser set up. So go ahead and download it. I'm going to hop into this and copy this, and you'll get a folder like that. That's fine. Just go ahead and copy these folders, unzip them out. So I'll just do that right now. So I'm going to right click on it and unzip. So we'll extract all. That's fine. And I'll pause the video for a second, but once it's extracted, we'll put it in the right place and we'll get our developer environment set up. Okay, now that the files are unzipped, you're going to open that, just Control C, and we're going to put this into a folder on our C drive, on our C users owner. And I'm going to create a folder called tutorial. You can put this wherever you want, wherever is good for you. For me, this is just kind of the way I like to do things, so it's totally up to you. So go create a new folder. I'm going to call this tutorial. So this is where all my tutorials will live. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to paste everything in there. And we'll pause the video and I'll come back once it's all in there. Okay, so we copied everything in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder called code, and this is where all of our code is going to live, just like we said it we would. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to, whatever IP address you chose, I chose, if you remember, 13. We need to go here, oops, so Control C that, and we need to open up Notepad as an administrator if you're using Windows. If you're using Mac, it's a little different. Don't worry, I'll walk you through that. But if you're using Windows, you need to go through here and you need to open up Notepad as an administrator. So right click on Notepad, click Run as Administrator, and click Yes. And then just File, once you've opened it as an administrator, go to File, Open. It's a little funny in Windows. It's a little bit of a trip. So C, you're going to go to Windows System 32, which is somewhere around here. Yep, System 32. Drivers, which is really close. Drivers, ETSA, I think that's how you pronounce it. Then select all files and then select the host. And right here, Control V, we're going to say PHP tutorial .app. And let me just make sure that's right before I continue, if that's cool with you guys. So we go to our, web server, I think, and it's PHP tutorial.app, so that is right. And we're going to say www.php tutorial .app, and you guys can just ignore this line, so just don't even worry about this line. So go ahead and save that, and don't use 13, use something else. Don't use 13, exit out of that. So now we can access it. That just allowed us to access it. Our next step is going to be we're going to get our git bash, which is something that you should have installed. I'll put that right here. And we're going to cd into tutorials, which is the folder. So by the way, we're in the owner folder, so it defaults to the person that you're in. Oops, so you gotta say cd, that means change directories tutorial. Now if you're doing this on a Windows command line, it still is cd, but you can do Linux commands here. So ls is list, so it'll list all the files there. So notice that we're in the tutorials folder, so we have the code, the Vagrant, and all that, and I'll just show you that. Notice that's what's listed right there. So kind of see what matches. Okay, so the next thing we're going to type is Vagrant, and Vagrant will basically show us all the commands that Vagrant has to offer. So we'll let that take a second or two. I'm going to make this just a little bigger. I was hoping to make it a little bigger. Let me just move this over here. There we go. This is taking a little bit. Let me pause the video. Okay, that took a little bit for some reason. No big deal though, but you can kind of see all the commands that Vagrant has to offer. So Vagrant box, Vagrant destroy. The ones we're going to be using are like Vagrant up, Vagrant SSH, which will allow us to log in to the machine via the command line. Vagrant resume, which will resume a suspended machine. I don't know if we're going to be using that one, but we might be using halt. That's the one we'll be using, halt, and then probably resume. But yeah, halt and resume. So there's only a few of them that you need to know. I'm going to type clear, which will clear give us a fresh start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type Vagrant up, and that'll start the machine. Start creating the machine, I should say. And this could take a second, so we'll just wait. I don't know why my machine's so slow today. Let's just exit out of this stuff. Starting to do it, so this is going to take a little while because this is our first machine, quote unquote. So let's just make sure that it gets to a certain point. Then I'm going to pause the video, and we'll probably just make sure that the PHP is up and running, and kind of stop there. And then the next video will be starting our our basic PHP series. So I'm really excited about that. Let's get through all this boring stuff, guys. Okay, it's still chugging away, so it's got to download that virtual machine. This is really good though, because basically you can imitate whatever OS you're on. You can imitate your system without so you can imitate the server that your PHP is running on without running it on the actual server. So you can imitate developer environments very easily with this. You know which version you're using. And it's really good for teams because you avoid a lot of mistakes. Places I've worked, like our VM will be running 5.5, but our actual machines are running 5.3. And I know what you're saying, 5.3 is ancient, but that's what we were doing. And just you get into all these goofy mistakes. So it just allows you to make sure that you have all that stuff. I'm going to pause the video, and we'll get back to it once it's done. Great news, it is done. So you can see that we are done with the virtual machine, and we are ready to go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a project using NetBeans, and we're going to test that everything works. So this is the big finale. So go open up NetBeans. I'm doing that right now. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. And once NetBeans is up, we're going to create a new project. We're going to run xdebug to make sure that we can debug, and then on our next tutorial we will start the we'll start on what should we call it? We'll start the other stuff. Oh yeah, and by the way, you're going to, before you do that, you're going to need to install some plugins too. So I'm sorry. So open up NetBeans and then go to Tools and Plugins, and then go here to Available Plugins, and you're going to want to install PHP for right now. So just go ahead and install PHP, and I will list them out for you. But yeah, basically you'll install PHP, PHP Composer, and a whole bunch of others. Symfony 2 framework. Let's see if I can find them. So yeah, you'll install Doctrine, Symfony 2, PHP, Twig. I'll just write them all out, but a lot of them are right here. So go ahead and install that, and let's just see if they have any Angular. I'm just curious. It's like Angular. I'm just typing that right here. So yeah, so you go to Available Plugins and you'll install those. I'll write those down, but go ahead and install those plugins. So like I said, once again, Tools, Plugins, go to Available Plugins, and at least install the PHP one. I'll write some other ones down that would probably be a good idea for you to install, that I've installed. So then once you're done with that, go to New Project. You're going to have a PHP option. So you want to select PHP application. We are using 5.6. You're going to browse, and you're going to, we'll start at the C drive just so that everyone can follow along. So we'll go to C, we're going to go to Users, we're going to go to Owner, and we're going to look for Tutorials. Remember, everything's in the Code folder. Ours is PHP, and it created a PHP tutorial folder for us. Let's go ahead and open that and name this project PHP tutorial. Be sure you spell it right. Then click Next, and we're going to say our app's going to run on tutorial, PHP tutorial .app. And then just click Finish. So go back, and from here you can just click Finish. And that's cool. Then go to File, New File, and this is going to be a PHP file, and it's just going to be called index.php. So select PHP file, type index, and it appends the .php for you. NetBeans does. And it's going to create that file. I don't know why. Yeah, there we go. And it's right here. And we're just going to echo hello world. So just go ahead and type that in right under that. And then we're going to go to our web browser, open a new tab, and type in http://php tutorial.app. Let's see if that runs. And we can see our hello world. So we can see that can run PHP. So if I change this to a $, exclamation point, that changes too. The next thing we want to do is we want to set up xdebug. So right click on the project and go to Properties. And I'll move this over here. And you want to go to Run Configuration. That's fine. We don't need any arguments passed. We do want to change this to http://php tutorial.app. And it's 901. Let's make sure that we use 901 for that. I think we might have used 9000. So we go to our languages, we scroll down, and I'll show you. So yeah, remote port 9000. So that's what it defaults to with the PHP NuGet. So NetBeans is a little different. So let's go ahead and make that match up. So we go to Advanced. Go ahead and change that to 9000 and click OK. And click OK. And what you want to use for when you're debugging PHP, you want to just go ahead and use Firefox. It'll make your life a lot easier when you're debugging PHP. So I selected Firefox, and then you can select this Run Debugger, and hopefully that'll open up Firefox. And not now. And let's see. So yeah, it's saying right here. So it's stopping right here because that's our first line. And we just click play, and it should echo PHP. So our debugger is indeed working. If we want to change that, and we do, so go to Options, so it doesn't stop on the first line. Go to PHP and Debugging, and select Stop at First Line, Apply, and OK. And that'll stop it from doing that. So in our next lesson, we're going to start. We're going to create a new file called variables, and we're going to start our PHP tutorials. So that about wraps it up. That's how to set up your PHP developer environment with xdebug, and then, like I said, our next lesson will be tutorials, straight up. Or bleh. Oops. Okay, so we're going to cut that out. But yeah, our next lesson is going to be variables. So we're going to learn about PHP variables and all sorts of other things. So yeah, come back to the next lesson, and I'll talk to you guys soon.